Hello, awesome games done quick. This is SWC19, and here's my submission video for I Must Jump. This is a post-run commentary of the current world record of 8 minutes and 20 seconds. I Must Jump is an indie PC platformer where the objective is to get from bottom to top of each level, as opposed to the traditional left to right. Your only options to move are left and right jumping, but you can only go diagonal instead of straight up. We can somewhat emulate straight up movement with quick left and right movements. So let's get started. So the first level is kind of just a tutorial, just to get you used to the controls of left and right. The speed that you mash does determine the speed of the character. Faster obviously means better. There are some other ways to regulate speed that we're going to use later, just by letting our character fall or just going slower in general, as you can see in that level. Those platforms do kill you, however the particles that are around them do not, so there are going to be some instances in the run where it looks like we should have gotten hit, kind of like corner clipping, but there's going to be no death. So this run heavily comes down to optimizations. For example, the goal at the end, hitting the very bottom of it is fastest, just because it's closest to the bottom of the screen where we start. And we aim to do that as opposed to just like jumping over it and then hitting the goal. The angle we use really doesn't matter, just to get around obstacles, but that death, there is a time save there. It's a very difficult first cycle. It saves about half a second. However, it is very difficult and is somewhat inconsistent. It depends heavily on the speed of the mashing. With that, the run very heavily comes down to the runner's mechanical ability. The routing is very consistent. The platform patterns are constant. They're always the same on a new level. So it really comes down to optimizations, risk-taking, and just general mechanical speed. Risk-taking being how close do you want to come to a corner to get around it faster. And there are some cases where you become very, very close to death, but narrowly avoid it. So every 6 levels, the color scheme changes and a new mechanic is added or introduced. In this case, from 12 to 18, or 13 to 18 rather, we have these growing and expanding circles. They are very cycle-based, as we'll see in the next couple levels. Catching the first cycle is pretty important just for going fast. There are some levels that don't have any of the mechanics in it, so they're kind of just regular platforming levels. Those will come up later. But for most of these, we can just avoid anything that can kill us, hug the wall if we need. That cycle is pretty difficult to catch. It's fairly tight in between the circle and the wall itself. This level introduces keys, which open up platforms. This level is also very difficult because of that one key in the corridor there. Being able to get the keys without losing speed is also very important. Unfortunately, I did miss the key here. You can get it through the wall, as I tried to do, but I was a little too far right to actually grab it. This is one of those levels I mentioned with really nothing special, it's just platforming. And it just comes down to how close you get to the corners and how fast you can just get through the entire thing. This is the Frogger level, very easy. Now 24 is the first boss level. These have the black and white color scheme. There is kind of like a moving floor way underneath me, but if you go fast enough, you don't even see it or have to worry about it at all. The boss levels kind of just test you on your the current mechanics that it's shown. 25 introduces these walls that you can go through. And kind of these levels are more maze-like than others. Especially this one where you need to navigate to get the key, backtrack a little bit, and just go up and around. This is one of the slower levels because, as I mentioned, it's maze-like, and both the ceiling and floors will kill you. Wind is introduced here. It's only used in 3 levels. The next one being 29. Where the wind does impact performance in like speed. This cycle we do need to wait for every time, so it's a little bit of waiting, but other than that, everything else in the run is fairly quick. Like level 30 here. We have significant tailwind and we can just blow through the whole level. Like I said, this is very cycle-based, and those cycles are consistent. So these thwomp-like enemies are introduced here. They are a pain to work with. In 31, that was a first cycle. Well, somewhat like a first cycle. Just getting through them very quickly is difficult because they move very fast and have sometimes a very large range of when they start moving. So there are going to be a couple levels where I just trigger the thwomp, wait under it until it goes, such as this one, and then proceed. Because that level, there's no way to actually get through both of them without getting hit by one of them at least. This one has a key, so we got to get it. You can make it your way through these two, however, it's very difficult. So I just opted for a safer strat of waiting and then grabbing the key. Again, here we're going to do this one not try and go through it, just because that's a bit faster than moving all the way to the left. Now we have some other enemies that are going to shoot platforms at us, or shoot these bullets at us that kill us. They also have a hitbox, so it's important not to hit them, or the bullets, of course. But again, these are also cycle-based. There's no randomness in this game. If you are to die, the cycles don't reset, they continue. So it is important to understand the cycles, and if you do happen to die, know how to do a backup. Did miss the key there, but was able to save it. This game does like to put a lot of mechanics together, including these enemies that shoot bullets, kind of in a lot of different ways, the keys, moving platforms, and I believe it does a very good job at it. There are a lot of sections that you can go through very quickly, but sometimes you'll get caught on like an off cycle and it'll just kill you. It looks like you can go through these sections a lot faster than I am, and in some cases that is true, but in most cases the speed taken is deliberate. First level, after we get the first key, we're just going to fall till the next one. And here's the final stage, technically. It's the last boss stage. And it's going to go through most of the mechanics we've encountered so far. And then moving into 48, it is just a credits level. There's no threats and there's nothing to worry about. There is one key, which if you're really not paying attention can hurt, but for the most part it's very easy to get. And time stops when you hit the goal. And that's the run. So that is I Must Jump. It's a very short game. It's very fun. The actions per second does get fairly high. I haven't actually tracked it, but I feel like it gets to around 10 to 20 per second. So it is a fairly intense run to do quickly, and it's just really fun. We don't have too many runners currently. I'm really the only active one at the time. So I would really enjoy for something like this to get into a GDQ. It's just a fun game overall. It is free, and it's very lightweight. So thank you for watching, and thanks for the opportunity.